Alright guys, welcome to the next Solidworks tutorial. Today we will be going over a variety of ways to make furniture using the sweep tool. So this is the first table that we were going to be working on, and I'll go through how to build this one. And then we're going to, in the next video, or part of this video, we'll be working on something more like this. Okay? Alright, so let's go ahead and create a new document. And we will be doing a part file. Okay, so just using some rough dimensions of existing like tables or side tables. We're going to start on the top plane. And we're going to create a sketch. And this table is going to be round, so we're going to use the circle tool. Start at the origin, just like always. And we're going to extend that out, and we're going to dimension it. So click on your Smart Dimension tool. And we're going to make this 620 millimeters. Make sure you're in the millimeters down here at the bottom. Alright. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to create 3 lines. We're going to basically split this circle up into 3 parts because that's the table that we're working on. Has 3 connection points to the table, and then 3 connection points to the ground. So the only thing we need to do is create one line horizontally, and we're going to go to our circular sketch pattern. And if you don't have the center point selected, make sure you do so now. Mine automatically did it. And then you're going to change this to 3. Make sure they're equal spaced. And you kind of get like a pie chart. Okay. Now the next thing we're going to need to do is create a circle here. And we're going to make the circle 5 inches, or sorry, 0.5 inches. So even though we're working with millimeters, to get 0.5 inches, you just have to type in either IN for inch or the quote mark, which is also the symbol for inches, and click enter. Alright. And we're going to bring that to the top of this line here, the horizontal line. And we're going to select the edge of the circle and the edge of the bigger circle and make them tangent to each other. And now we're going to do the same thing with this horizontal line. We're going to make those tangent. And the next thing we're going to do is create another circle here. Make those equal to each other. So I'm going to click on the edge of this circle and the edge of this one. Make them equal. And click on the edge of this circle again, the horizontal line. So I'm selecting both those at once and hitting tangent. And then the last thing we need to do is create a center line between these 2 circles and dimension that 70 millimeters. Actually, let me just double check that. Make sure I did. Excuse me, 30 millimeters. Okay, I thought that was a little too big. 30 millimeters. Alright. Now, we don't have to make these construction lines because we're not actually going to be using this sketch to extrude anything. These are going to be more of a reference. These are reference points. You'll see what I mean in a little bit. Alright, and lastly, we're going to go back to our sketch tools here, and we're going to create a circular sketch pattern for these circles here. And make sure you're changing the instance count to 3, and it's also equally spaced. Alright, so it should look like this. Okay? If you don't want these to be able to move around freely, you can drag them, and you'll see that this little point here moved off the origin. We just snap that back to the origin, and everything locks into place. Alright, so now we're done with this sketch. I'm going to exit the sketch, and we're going to create a plane for the bottom of the legs of the table. So let's go to Feature tab, Reference Geometry, Plane, and we're going to offset our top plane by 780 millimeters. And we want to make sure it's offsetting in the opposite direction, so the downwards position. And you always know which way is the downwards position, because if you look at the axis, the y, z axis here, the y will be pointing upwards. Alright, so if you need to flip the offset, you can with this button here. And click OK. Alright, so now the next thing we need to do is we're going to be working with a 3D sketch. This is different from a 2D sketch or a regular sketch, because normal sketches, you need to create them on a two-dimensional plane. 3D sketches, you can create lines and other sketch tools in three-dimensional space, so it's not linked to a plane. However, in a 3D sketch, we still are going to be using two-dimensional planes, but we're going to be using multiple two-dimensional planes. So we're just going to be using the line tool for this. So if you didn't see what I did, I'm going to exit the sketch. I went to, under the sketch, there's a little arrow, and we're going to click 3D sketch. Alright, we're going to choose our line tool here, and we're going to click on the center of this circle here, and then you'll notice that as I drag my cursor down, next to my cursor is two letters. Right now it's Y and Z, and you might have to reorientate your camera, but it's moving. Basically, I'm choosing a point that's on the Y and Z plane. So if you look at your little axis icons on the bottom left, the Y is up and the Z is to the right. So I'm drawing on I'll be able to click on any point on that plane. If I click Tab, now I'm on the XZ plane. So you see there's the XZ plane. Click Tab again, I'm on the YX plane. Now I'm on the YZ plane, and back to the X or ZX plane. This is a little tricky to understand right off the bat, because it's really difficult to see where your cursor is in three-dimensional space. But if you just hold your middle mouse button down and kind of rotate the camera around, you can get a better idea as to where it is. In this situation, we do not need to worry too much about where the point is snapping to, because we are going to we will be creating references or relations to our points. So you can go ahead and just click anywhere below the circle here. Alright, and then we're going to click on the middle of this circle that's about that's 1/3 of the way around the circle, like that. Okay, so we're starting on this circle here and we're ending on this circle, but we also created a snap point, and we're going to create a relation that's going to snap this to the plane, the bottom plane. So I selected both the plane and the point and clicked on plane. Alright. Let me just verify something real quick. Okay, excuse me, I messed up a little bit, but that's okay. We can fix this very easily. I was actually needing to snap this point on this circle, not this circle. So let's go ahead and delete our relation. To do that, you can either click on the point and either select that little green box and hit delete, or go over to the left side and delete the existing relations on the menu over there. And now we can drag this over to the circle I should have clicked onto. Okay. And then this point, we're going to create another relation with the point of this horizontal line here. So we're going to select this point and the bottom point, and we're going to say along y. That means it's along, we're creating a relation along the y-axis. So those are going to be directly vertical of each other. And you can tell that if I go to the top view, those 2 points are directly on top of each other. Okay? And so you should have something that looks like something like this. And the last thing we need to do is we're going to need to create a fillet. And we're gonna click on this bottom point here, and I'm gonna bump this fillet up to about 30 millimeters, and click OK. All right. Now, so we have the way I like to describe a sweep, which we're going to be doing in a second, is you're creating like a race car track or a Hot Wheels track. And to create a sweep feature, you need the track and you need the vehicle that's going on that track. And you'll basically see like a trail that the vehicle leaves behind all the way across that track. So the next thing we need to do, we can exit the sketch. We need to create a plane that's perpendicular to this line. So let's go to our Features tab, click on Reference Geometry, select Plane, and we only need to click on this point here and this line. And if you're like, my computer already solved it. So the line it's perpendicular to, and the point it's coincident to. Alright, so click OK. Now on this plane, we're going to need to sketch a circle. And we're going to make this circle, so we're going to start on this point here. And we're going to make this, we're going to dimension this 0.5 inches as well. Or you can type in 12.7 millimeters, it's up to you. Okay? Now, we're going to exit our sketch. And I'm gonna right click and hide this plane because it's kind of annoying for me. So you don't have to do this if you don't want to, but I'd like to. And then we're gonna go to our sweep boss base feature and click on that. And you'll see that in this profile and path menu, it's looking for the profile in this column or in this row, and then the path in this row. So let's go ahead and click on our newly drawn circle, and then it automatically switches to the path, and we're going to click on our path right there. So you see it's creating, it's using that circle to create like a steel, or what's going to be like a steel bent rod along the path that we drew. Now, this is my first body that I'm creating, so I don't have the option to merge results. But guys, remember that you need to really concentrate on whether or not you want to merge a body with another body, because a lot of a lot of you kind of, you got a lot of issues with the watch project when you were merging every body together. So keep that in mind from here on out. And when you're creating a new body, should it be separated from the rest? All right, so we're going to click OK. And so that's good. We have one leg of our table. So now all we need to do is we're going to go to under your linear pattern tab. We're going to choose circular pattern. And we're going to choose for our parameters, we're going to choose our circle on the top. And we're not going to do features and faces, we're going to do bodies. So we're going to click on our body over here. Oh. It's not like that. Let's Alright, so it's rotating around the wrong thing. Oh, that's okay. Okay, let's exit out of that first. All right, we need to create. We can go ahead and just create our part of the top of the table. So let's go on our top plane here, choose sketch, and we're going to. Let's go to our top view. We're going to start at the origin again, and we're going to go back to our, we're going to kind of create the same circle we did before, and then we're going to create another inner circle here, and we're going to make that, let's do 530. Okay. And let's extrude it. Upwards, we're going to extrude it 1 inch. And actually, that might be too much. Let's go 0.75 inches upwards. And then we're going to click direction 2. And we're going to make that extrude 0.5 inches. Or sorry, 0.25 inches. Oh, 0.25 inches. There we go. And we're not going to merge results for this. So we're going to uncheck that and click OK. All right. Now we have something that we can use for our circular pattern. So let's go back to that circular pattern. For our parameters, we're going to choose one of the edges here. And we're going to choose bodies and click on our first leg. Now for the instance count, we're going to choose 3. And yeah, everything else looks good. And click OK. Alright, so that's how you get this kind of design. Just to finish up this table, let's go ahead and let's put some kind of like rubber spacers on it. So let's do a new sketch. I just did a sketch off of the top of that the ring I made, and let's create. Let's do a circle there, and I'm going to create a center line here and across. So I made 2 separate center lines, one from the center to the edge of the ring, and I'm going to make that collinear to this line here. And if you don't see the first sketch you made, make sure that you have your sketches shown, or view sketches under your show hide menu. And then the second line I drew from the inner edge to the outer edge. And now we can click on the center of our circle and our construction line here and choose the midpoint relation. And let's give that just a dimension of 25 millimeters. And we're going to extrude that. Well, actually, excuse me. We're going to go back to, we're going to create a linear sketch pattern. Sorry, circular sketch pattern using any of the circular edges for our underneath the parameters. And under entities to pattern, we're going to choose our circle. And we're just going to do that 3 times. Alright, so something's not quite right. Oh, I might need to choose. Alright. I had to choose another circle because it was giving me a weird. Oh. Alright. This happens sometimes, but very rarely. Luckily, I have an autosave. Didn't really give me much. Alright, I'm going to go reopen my... Luckily, I made this earlier. Okay, so if you're following along with me, I just created my spacer here, and I was about to do a circular pattern to create 3 of these. You can do that within the sketch or with outside of the sketch using the circular pattern feature. But these are all separate bodies. They're not merged with anything, which is what you want. And then last thing I did was on using the top of my spacer. Oh, excuse me. I made those spacers 0.25 inches, or sorry, 5 millimeters tall. Okay. And so using the top face of the spacer here, I just drew another circle off the origin, and I just made that something like 700 millimeters and extruded it 20 millimeters. And uncheck merge because we don't want this merged. This can be like your glass, your glass table. All right. So that table is done. Now, what's kind of cool about this is, I can easily add more legs if I want to. Let's see what 4 looks. And you really get a lot of interesting, you can get some really interesting shapes this way. I'm just changing this appearance to glass. There we go. Voila. Alright guys, so that's table 1. Let's go to our second table, which will eventually end up something like this. Alright, so let's go ahead and start a new part file. And just like before, we're unlike before, we're going to start on our front plane. So click on your front plane, choose sketch, and we're going to start with a revolve. So I'm going to create my profile shape of what I want. We'll just follow along with me right now and you'll see what I mean. So I'm going to start on my origin. I'm going to draw a horizontal line this way. And then I'm going to choose spline and start there. And just pick a point down on the bottom. Right? Now we're going to do another horizontal line from there to the origin, and then a vertical line up to the origin. Now let's go ahead and dimension this top line. 310 millimeters. And this bottom line, let's go and let's do 275. Maybe 250. There we go. And I'm just going to drag my spline points to create, a little bit of an interesting shape like that. Now do something like this first. Follow along with me, and then you'll see, and then you can play around with it later. But now the last dimension we need is our vertical line here. We're going to make that 780. Okay. Now choosing our center line, our vertical line, we're going to go to Features, Revolve, and click OK. Alright, and I'm just going to look at my front view here. Now we can use this revolved shape to create some really interesting sweeped lines. Let's see, how do I say that? You can use this revolve to create these really interesting kind of like a basket cage. Alright, so I'm going to go back to my original. There we go. And we're going to sketch again on the front plane. And we're going to choose our spline tool. We're going to click on the bottom center line here. And just somewhere at the top that's not in the center. Like that. And then I'm just going to drag my angle spline handle and click on the vertical relation. So something like this. Actually, I'm going to make it a little bit more intense. There we go. Something like that. Alright, great. So I'm going to exit my sketch. And under the curves button, you'll see project curve. Now it already selected my sketch, but then you need to just select a face. So I choose that face. You can see the yellow line. It might be different color for other people, but it's projecting that line onto that curved surface to create a really, if I was just trying to draw that line in a 3D sketch, it would be a lot more difficult. So I'm using this 3D shape to assist me in a 3D sketch. Alright. Now I need to go on the bottom of this shape, click on that face, choose sketch. On my circle tool, I'm going to click on this point here, and I'm going to make that 1.5 inches. And make sure it's really snapped on there. You might have to select both points, or if you select the line and the point of the circle and choose pierce, it's kind of like coincident, but if I just hit coincident, it only it locks onto that whole line, and since that line is on a different plane, it really doesn't snap too well. Pierce is a good way to snap to a line that's on a different plane. All right. So now that I have that, I'm going to exit my sketch. I'm going to go to Swept Boss Base, choose my circle here, and my new projected line or curve. And under options, make sure you do not have a merge result. We do not want this merged. And click OK. Now the last thing we need to do is select go to our linear pattern, circular pattern, click on this top edge here, and we're going to select bodies and choose our newly swept body. Now I'm going to bump up my number of instances to something like 18 and click OK. Now, if you hide the first revolved body that you made, you'll see that you have this really neat, shape using just like bent metal rods or something. All right, and so the way that we did this, it's really simple to change the shape of this. So you can go back into your revolve sketch, and if I edit that, and make these a little bit more intense, it automatically changes everything else. All right, and then maybe I change my curve. So I go back to my front plane. Maybe I change my curve a little bit. And it automatically updates. So this is a good way to get some really interesting shapes. And then you can just change your pattern. So there's only 4 features here, and I have this really unique, what's starting to be a table. So let's go ahead and just finish this off. I'm going to want to trim this top, the top of these off a little bit to make it flat on the top. So let's go back to our front plane. We're going to create a sketch on our front plane. And I'm just going to do the corner rectangle and start up here, and then I'm just going to go down somewhere like that. Doesn't really matter. Just make sure that the bottom line of your rectangle is below the edge of this, and we can go ahead and dimension that. Let's dimension the line to the origin. Let's make that like 35 just to be safe. And we're going to go features, extrude cut, and let's go to under direction. We're going to say through all both. And I'm not even going to, I want to cut everything. So I'm not going to choose feature scope, and we're going to click OK. All right. Now we can click on the top of one of these. Actually, no, let's click on the top plane. Where's sketch? And we're going to make another circle, something like that. Let's give it a dimension 750 and extrude. And let's go down 40 millimeters. All right, and we're not going to merge it. And there you have it. Now you can add like a bottom on here. Like you can make a, just like how we did at the top like that, you can make a bottom if you want. But then now you have some like a really cool like octopus table or something. All right, so go ahead and save both of these. I named them Table Sweep 2 and Table Sweep. And go ahead, name them like Table Sweep and then your name. And feel free to play around with them too. Use the, use your imagination to maybe change some of these up a little bit if you want. But all I am requiring is these 2 models to send to me. Alright guys, that's the end of the tutorial. I hope you guys enjoyed it and look forward to seeing your progress.